I think right now, I think what most of you want to do is let's jump in back to 2018 and talk about the IRI that just happened. So Dan, you picked an interesting qualifying match for us before we get to finals number 3. Tell us what you got.
All right, so at IRI, we saw a lot of close matches, and Nick will be talking about Finals 3, which is probably the match you guys are everyone's most familiar with. But I wanted to talk about another match, match 93, that had a really close score, and it's thanks to the Blue Alliance that they were able to come out ahead just barely by some good strategy all around. So before the match even starts, it looks like the red side has the advantage. 33-57, they're world finalists. They have 6 blue banners this year, and they are just amazing. I love 33-57, and they really knocked it out of the park this year. 624 is also on the Red Alliance, and they've had their first successful season since 2015, I think. 2 blue banner victories, and doing very well at Champs. And then finally, to round it out, 133 is easily a top team in the New England district. So the Red Alliance seems to be incredibly strong here. And the Blue Alliance, they weren't bad by any means. They were very quality teams. So at the beginning of the match, we're in auto, okay? And auto was fairly uneventful. It was fairly even. 624 and 2337 both land that first cube, and then 2337 misses the second cube while 624 grabs it, but it misses the scale at the end of auto. But I want to pause right at the very end of auto right now. So on the red side, there are 4 cubes in the switch, if you can tell. 3357 ran a 2-cube switch auto, and so did 133. So there are 4 cubes in that switch right now. And at the very end of Autonomous, 133 has 1 cube in their robot. And during teleop, let's unpause it and see what they do with it. Okay. All right, and pause again. So 133 decides to drop that last cube that they had into their switch before grabbing another to go onto the scale. Now, just keep that in mind because it's going to be important later. All right, so 469 is over on the blue side, and they're just picking up 1 final cube, and keep an eye on 469 this entire match. They're going to stay around that area and completely zone out the Red Alliance from scoring cubes. And we see 2337, instead of picking up that cube that they missed in Autonomous, they decide to go over and grab some of the cubes from the opponent's switch area. So let's unpause it. 624 and 3357 are both loading cubes up onto their switch. Now, something small here is 3357 and 624. Can we pause? So at the very beginning of teleop, 624 goes over to the red side to pick up a cube, and so does 3357. Whereas at the end of teleop, on the blue side, 302 picks up a cube from their cube stack, and 2337 picks up a cube from the opponent's switch side. So already they're going from 2 different piles or areas, while 3357 and 624 are getting in each other's way, trying to draw from the same pile. So now we're moving on a bit, and 133 rather tries to go for the cubes on the blue side, but 469 completely boxes them out, and they go over to grab some from the exchange zone. So 469 is not letting them get any of the cubes on that side, and 302 and is feeding them to 302. 302 is trying to take all of them and put them on their scale. So what else can they do besides start drawing from their cube stack? Because there's no cubes left. So can we pause right here? So already at 80 seconds, the Red Alliance has no cubes left on their cube stack. That's huge for still being being so much time left in the match, over half the time left in the match, and there's no cubes on the red side. Now 624 put 3 cubes in the vaults for Levitate, but all the other ones were used either on the switch or on the scale. And meanwhile, the Blue Alliance has almost a full stack still, and they're owning the scale right now. So they've been remaining even by just having 469 guard the cubes and having 2337 charge at the cubes on the red side in order to almost starve the Red Alliance of cubes for the match. And 469 is not even letting them get any from the opponents, or from the human player station. They're not letting them get them easily, so if we can just keep resuming the match. Now, at 70 seconds, we see 624 playing some defense on 2337. It doesn't really make a big difference, considering blue owns the scale right now, so their efforts might be better off scoring, but it doesn't make a difference. And a couple of cubes drop on the red side, and it's not a big deal again because it just gives them more cubes, but had they had those on the scale the entire time, things might have gone differently. So at 45 seconds, 469 abandons their post from guarding, and 3357 is able to grab the final cube in the blue stack. So they do that, and now 469 and 302 are both focusing on the vault. And that's really important because the vaults that the Red Alliance only has 3 cubes rather in the vault for Levitate, and the Blue Alliance has so many cubes left over that they can use for power-ups and just the vault having points for having cubes in the vault. So they're doing that. And at 37 seconds, look at the score. It's almost identical. It's going up, and the scale is even, and 178 to 180. So the scores are so close. Every little point is going to make the difference in this match. So if we can keep going. All right, at 30 seconds, we can pause one more time. So 624 and 3357 go up to climb. And same thing with 469 and 302. So what's significant about this is the 624 and 3357 are the 2 best scorers on the Alliance. Climb early is risky, considering the scores are so close, but it seems like 2337 is going over to do the vault, so they're not going to put any more cubes up, leaving 133 with a good opportunity to get the scale in their favor. It is pretty early, but at the same time, 624's ramp, you got to make sure you line it up correctly, so it makes sense. And 302 and 469 are doing the exact same thing, trying to do a double climb. So in the last 25-30 seconds of the match, we're just going to see 133 versus 2337, and let's see what they each choose to do. 133 goes over to their vault and realizes that they have no cubes left. So in the last 18 seconds, the Blue Alliance plays... Okay, so they made a mistake here. The Blue Alliance plays boost on their scale with 2 cubes when they probably meant to do force on their scale with 2 cubes. So that was a bit of a mistake there, but I mean, it's going to be significant at the same time, but the Red Alliance, let's see if they do anything to capitalize on it. So the Red Alliance grabs 1 cube left, 1 cube from their vault, and with 8 seconds left, they try to score it. Now, if they had grabbed that cube that's sitting right by the scale that the head ref is currently covering right now, if they had grabbed that 1 cube and put it in the vault and done a single power up, that might have changed the course of the match. And again, the Blue Alliance played the force on their switch instead of the scale by accident. That's okay, because that's still 15 points in the vaults that the Red Alliance didn't get at the end of the match. So if we want to keep the video playing to see the final score, and that's the unofficial, come on, final score. And if you remember back to the beginning of Teleop, I bet 133 really wishes that they had that extra cube right now. They could have put that in the vault and just done 1 boost on the switch and could have changed the entire course of the match. So that was match 93, and it didn't have any effect really on eliminations or the rankings. None of the teams were really going to be in the captain position or anything like that, but it was just a very well-played match by the Blue Alliance, who were a little bit... They were the underdogs in that match, and 469 played some great defense that allowed them to keep up with a 3 red scale alliance strategy. All right. Yeah, do you guys have any thoughts?
I mean, it's kind of crazy where this year yeah, the bulk of the matches were kind of done after 60 seconds. But when you get into these matches that were so close, then it's just like you flip a coin, like just like one thing here, a couple seconds early on a cube, a couple seconds late on a cube makes all the difference. And I mean, we're gonna, we keep talking about Finals 3 without talking about it, but like,
yeah,
that's what we're gonna get into here. Like, like Dan said, like one extra cube in the vault, and then any power up is gonna get you an extra. There you go, Red, you've got this here. Or Blue could have done a multitude of things to expand their lead, and so, yeah. But I mean, I don't know what else to say other than close matches are close. Like,
yeah, at IRI, it just seemed like there were so many cubes going in the scale on each side that it was so important to not overdo it with anything else. If you put too many cubes in the switch, those were cubes that you didn't have in the vault or on the scale, and that came back to bite people sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how things shifted, because I know early on in the year people started talking about cube scarcity, and they kind of said, okay, well, at some point teams are going to start making portal runs, and the portals are going to get exhausted. But truly, the portals never really did get exhausted. It's just because the portal runs were so long that you had to make, teams were pulling from their cube pile. Teams were those 6 cubes in the 12 cubes in the center were so important. But the length of the portal run, it just was never worth it. And so teams actually started scoring less on the switch. And that's to the point where the switches became irrelevant in certain matches, where teams would just get their 1 or 2 in each, and they were leaving it. And they were daring each, because your opponent didn't want to waste their scale cubes on the switch for a switch they may never end up controlling. So that's something, and truly, there's rarely things that really surprise me over the long haul of the game. That's one that I just didn't see coming, that people were just gonna the switch the 1-0 stalemates on the 2 switches. I was just kind of thought that it was going to be 3 different battles going. It was going to be tactical on how you do it, as opposed to like everything just jumping on the scale, and the portal runs not even happening, and to the point where Nick's going to show us a match where like teams don't even bother to levitate.
Right. Interesting question from the chat from MMan1506 is, I wonder why they didn't have 133 climb. Thoughts?
I mean, it was just, you got to pick one to climb, and it really, having 624 had to be the first climber. And when it came down to 3357 versus 133 to be the last people standing, it kind of makes sense, because 3357 does score the cubes in a unique way. They do score it, how would you say this? On their side, essentially.
On their side, and they try to stack them in really tight.
And when the scale's up that high and it's not really, the cubes aren't packed in super nicely, I think it makes more sense for 133 to be the final one if they were trying to keep going on the scale.
Yeah.
But they own the scale at the end of the match. So what they really needed was a cube in the vault. And then, doesn't really matter who it is, whoever, both of them can do it fairly.
Yeah, just looking at, as we watched that replay there, there was no way they were going to get that portal cube down to the vault, I don't think. But you're right, that cube that was sitting in front of the ref there, they tossed that over at the vault. Yeah, but I mean, close matches are close.
Yeah, they might have gotten scared off by how close it was to being under the scale plate and worried if they could reach it. But we certainly have a much better view from the side of the field than they do. And maybe they thought it was a little bit closer to being under the plate and too difficult to reach.
And Nick actually brings up a really good point. If you look at Bert's robot, it is very tall.
Yeah.
And if they drive under the scale to try and get that cube, they could make contact with the scale. Cubes could start falling. And bad. I saw that happen a couple times this weekend, where I was watching matches and teams went under the scale to try and get a cube, and then I'm trying to swear less on this show, but everything went to poop city, and there's cubes flying all over the place. So
whether you are watching live or archived, we need your help to keep fun going. You can subscribe to First Updates now on Twitch, give bits, or make a donation. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description on how you can help fun.